So guys, you know, we can't always do a live feed because sometimes it just doesn't work, because I'm starting to wonder if maybe YouTube does hide knife channels. I said I didn't think they did. I thought Google was better than that, because I've actually gotten treated pretty well by YouTube. I'm not gonna lie to you. They do silly shit, like sometimes my videos get demonetized. But as far as support as a creator, actually it's been pretty good. But what we're going to talk about today is stainless steels and the misconception of what a stainless steel is, and how there's a definite difference between stainless and stain proof, or stainless and rust proof or corrosion proof. So that's what we're going to talk about. But stand by, because here comes the So guys, like I said, live feed didn't work. I've seen a couple people while I've been prepping up for this. So I wanted to talk about the difference between stainless and stain proof. And we're going to talk about that real quick, and I'll touch on it. Stainless steel is never going to be completely rust proof or corrosion proof. What it's going to be is it's going to be waste. You can have some that are really, really resistant to corrosion, to oxidation, and things like that, because of chemicals and elements that have been introduced into the steel, the way that the steel was made. So the first one I would mention would be nitrogen steels as opposed to carbon steels. And so I don't remember if you guys, I don't know if you guys ever bought one. Spyderco actually had what they called the Salt series, and they made it in a steel called H1. And H1 was just a nitrogen-based steel. And when you would go in and read the thing, it was based on using nitrogen instead of carbon, and forming the steel that way, and it would prevent the oxidation. Well, I can kind of explain that a little bit in a minute as to why, and it has to do with the amount of chromium oxide that's on the surface of the steel. So let me backtrack a little bit, and some of you guys are old enough. I'm in my mid 40s. So when I was growing up, we didn't have this big push for super steels. We had basic. If you're going to buy a knife in stainless, it was probably going to be a 440C. There was some others out there, like ATS 34, I think was one. But I mean, that was a lot. Like Buck made some stuff in that, and that was like some groundbreaking shit at the time for a while. A lot of people were making stuff out of it. That was, you know, I was a little bit older then. But basically what you had was high carbon steel, and I don't even own a high carbon steel kitchen knife, but I do have a cast iron skillet, which is basically the same kind of deal. This is where you're wrapping around my head. And so what happened with carbon steels was real high carbon, lower chromium, and you formed a patina because there wasn't much chromium oxide at the surface. So how does that interaction between the carbon and how does that interaction between the carbon and the chromium affect the rust? Because Mike, you already said it's the steel that's causing the rust, right? Right. Talking to myself in third person, sometimes it happens. I'm used to doing live feeds. So what happens is, during the heat treat process and the forming of the steels, and even when it's annealed, you'll have some that are less rust resistant than others. So what happens is, as you're heating that steel, what happens is the carbon and the chromium want to join, and they form a carbide, chromium carbide. The more chromium you absorb into the steel, the less is going to be available. Free chromium, let's try that in English, free chromium available at the surface of the steel to form that oxide, because that's what protects it, is the chromium oxide that forms at the surface is going to do the protecting piece. Well, the more of that you absorb into heat treat, during heat treat, the more of it you absorb into carbides, that's where you start getting higher Rockwell. That's where you start getting the different characteristics of the steel that make it desirable. But as you know, if I want something that's really, really rust resistant, it might not hold an edge real well, or as long, or be as tough, or things like this, because I haven't absorbed. Or it's got a huge amount of chromium in it from its base original state. Like, you bought it and it's got a lot of chromium. So the more chromium that comes to the surface, the more you're protecting the iron in the mix from being exposed to oxygen. So you see where I'm going with this? So higher chromium, and the lower the chromium gets during the heat treat, the more rust you get. Well, so now we get down to, I have a knife that isn't stained, because people get wound up because their knives stain. And I used this knife to do some food prep stuff. I had a really nice steak knife that was mine, and the handle got broke. And so instead of going out, just because we only had a handful of steak knives and stuff, and I don't like these ones, there's some brand new ones in a box. I was like, screw it, you know what? I had this in my pocket. I'd used it to cut up a couple other things anyway. And I knew it was going to patina, because D2 patinas, less chromium at the surface. Here's another one in D2. And you can see it's got some spotting and stuff on it. This gets used. And so the thing you have to remember is, just because it's stainless doesn't mean it's stain proof. So now let's go to the actual stain proof material. Why is it rust proof? Well, because there's no iron in it. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know why my camera just stopped. I was saying, so now let's talk about the actual rust proof material. So, like I said earlier, the chromium is what allows you to have the rust resistance, because the more available chromium, the more that's exposed as you grind it, the more that comes to the surface, the more it forms an oxide. That's what's doing the protecting. But what's actually causing the rust, like I said, the corrosion, what's causing the actual interaction is a lot like with the chromium interacting with the oxygen. It's forming an oxide. Well, steel, the iron, the Fe element, is also going to interact with oxygen and form iron oxide. And so that's what, so what you're trying to do is strike balance. Well, the only way to prevent that, completely prevent it, is to and I wish I had one of my knives here that had a coating on it. One, you can put a coating on it to completely cover the steel, like a ceramic where it's completely impregnable. That ceramic that we use is pretty until it starts getting thin, and then you can get some moisture through that barrier. But the edge is still going to be prone to whatever corrosion or anything is going to be happening. So how do you deal with that? Well, there's one material I know of, and it's the only material I know of that's ever been made in blades that is completely rust proof, and that's SM100. Well, why, you might ask? Well, let me tell you. Thanks for the throw in there, Mike. Tip it to me. It winds up being rust proof because it has no iron in it. There's none, zero. See where I'm going? So what you have is a mixture of nickel and titanium with some other elements. I think there's some tin and a couple other things, just small portions of it. The majority of it's nickel with some titanium thrown in, and it can be hardened to a point where it will take an edge, and it takes a frightening edge, but it will not rust because it can't. It can't. It can't. It does not oxide. It oxidizes, but what you get is basically you can anodize it, which is what you're doing with anodizing, is you're forming an oxide layer on the titanium. So you see where I'm going? So the colors, these beautiful colors you see, technically, that's how titanium rusts. Beautiful, right? Isn't that an amazing metal? But yeah, so the thing stopped, and it's getting ready to stop again because I just got a text from my wife that she's getting ready to call me. So I'm going to end you guys right here. I will edit this in together. Yeah, and then we'll get back to the rest of it. Like I said, going back to it, there's a lot of things that can do the chemical interactions, but it's the chromium at the surface that's doing the protection. And so there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of elements in the steel that add to toughness and things like this. The chromium is going to be the majority of what's preventing the rust. Less chromium, more rust. Well, D2 just happens to be one of those steels that it's a real good steel. I like it, but it does not have as much chromium available to form that rust-proof coating on the outside. Now, I've done the same things with this knife that I've done with that knife, right? M390, way higher in chromium than D2, and especially after heat treat. That's the one, it's after heat treat. The heat treat is what absorbs those together, and that's what you're trying to do when you heat treat a steel, is to harden it and toughen it and form those carbides that are gonna be your cutting agent in the mix. And so that's just, you know, do they patina? Yeah. This one, I don't know how clear it's going to come out. This is S35VN in my gent. It just happened to be what was in my pocket. It has formed a small bit of an oxide. You can see it's got a little bit of an orangeness to it in places, but not to the extent that this did. Different steels. So when you're looking for something, like if you're an outdoors guy and you want to keep a pristine knife, well, then you're going to want to look for those, like Elmax is real corrosion resistant. 20CV M390 in a production style, real corrosion resistant, a lot of chromium. When I heat treat 20CV, I do a different kind of heat treat than the production style heat treat, just because they can't do it, because one, it makes it so much harder to grind, and two, it's so time consuming. My 20 CV is much more inclined to patina or get a little bit of rust than, say, the stuff you're getting coming out of Riat or WE in 20 CV or M390. So, you know, you got to look at it from perspective, like nothing with iron in it is ever going to be rust proof, corrosion proof. It's only going to provide you protection from it. And if you stay on top of it, I can clean this up. I cleaned most of it up. It looked worse than this. When I took the adhesive that was all over it off, it wiped most of it off. And you can feel the difference in the finish between here and here. But I got news for you. If I cut a bunch of stuff with this, say I go down and I break some cardboard boxes, a lot of that's going to be gone. I could just take this off with, if I really wanted to, I could use one of those magic eraser sponges. I've done it before, and take it off. So, you know, there's just, if the look of your knife is that important to you, you want to research what steel you want to look for. Some people, that's all they care about, is how does it polish, how does it look. I don't care, you know, they just want it to look pretty. Guys like me, I grew up on a farm. I honestly paid I paid less than $100 for this knife, and it gets used. I use my $1,000 knives for stuff. What makes you think I'm not just going to thrash this? So you gotta pick and choose what steel is going to suit what you want best. And that gets into where, like, why I like 20 CV. Some people are like, oh, 20 CV, you know, there's so many steels that are better. You remember we talked about the Rockwell thing, and I don't think I got my point across real good in the live feed, and I think I'm going to readdress that in an actual video sometime. But there's some people, that's the only thing to look at, is that Rockwell. Well, yeah, I mean, M390's got a pretty good Rockwell rating, but with that, you're also getting a lot of other factors. But the thing is, I know I can sharpen this, and I know I can sharpen my 20 CV and things like that. But the fact is, if I was out somewhere and I was going to be out there for a while, would I want to take this knife in M390 versus something maybe in a carbon steel it's easier to maintain, maybe my Sebenza, something that's not as hard to maintain the edge and things on? Because while that's cool that there's these guys that are doing these amazing heat treats like Big Brown Bear, he's getting when I talked to him the other day, he said he was doing Rex 121 up to like 70. He's got some, he sent me a heat treat for 1095 steel that is just insane, and it's gonna make it tough as shit. But the flip side of that is, if you're not the guy that's gonna take a full sharpening kit with you out in the bush, then you're not wanting an M390 or something like that. You might not even want a D2. You're gonna want something like an S35 VN like Tim Reeve and them run it at Chris Reeve Knives, because it's softer and easier to maintain. So there's so many things you have to throw into the mix. What are you gonna do with the knife? What is this? What is that? And do I want something that is super over the top tough, things like this, like 3V or 4V, but have to deal with the fact it constantly has to be maintained because it'll rust, it'll patina, it will rust, it will just corrode. So, you know, you got to look at it from a perspective of, you know, things like that. VG10's used in kitchen knives a lot, and depending on how it's done, and how it's heat treated and stuff, it can stain. I had an Endura in a VG10 that I used it when I was camping, and I cut up meat when we were putting it on the grill, and it patinaed not to this level, but it did form a patina, but like I said, it's easy to remove. So, you see what I'm saying? Stainless steel, not stain proof. Don't get wound up if you buy a knife and it just gets patina. There's ways to take care of it. There's ways to get it off, and one of the best things you can do is the second you're done with it, clean it off. So, guys, it's been 12 minutes. I didn't want this to be a long video. This was just because the live feed didn't go. I actually shot this twice. That's why I'm saying I gotta do this. I don't have much to sharpen today. I got so much done yesterday just trying to get prepped for the weekend because I'm not gonna be here. My daughter has a skating competition. So, yeah, the live feed didn't go. I just didn't want to stick around. It was like, I did it twice. I tried live feed twice. No one showed up, and I was just like, no, and they're texting me now saying notifications never went out. They got the notification the video's up. But so I was like, you know, just like I did with the other video, what's the best use of my time? I can do a video. This isn't gonna take a lot of editing. These are these videos that I can do that don't require much editing. So, yeah, do it. Don't get the misconception, because like I said, even Spyderco's H1 steel still has iron in it, and eventually will rust. So, but that steel's a lot softer, a lot less wear resistant, and I would say that's because the chromium didn't get absorbed into carbon and turned into carbides. I don't like the H1 steel all that much. Some of the other nitrogen steels I really, really do like. They form a very, very, very tight grain structure, Nitro V and things like that. I just never liked the H1. So I'm not saying I don't like nitrogen steels. I'm just saying I didn't like that one. It felt real soft. It didn't feel like it was taking an edge real well. It just never seemed like it was holding an edge real well. So, all right, guys, that's it. Stainless versus carbon, and the reasoning behind why things work. So, you guys take it easy. I'll talk to you later. So, guys, obviously, I forgot to do my little outro. If you like the videos, give them a thumbs up. If you don't like them, give them a thumbs down. Please tell me why, and then don't threaten me that you're gonna send fucking CPS to my house because you didn't like one of my videos. That's a thing. We'll talk about that later, in case you guys didn't catch that feed yesterday. If you like them, give them a thumbs up. You don't like them, give them a thumbs down. In this corner here is going to be a video YouTube thinks you like. Down here is going to be a video I think you like, but more than likely it's probably going to be a link to somebody's channel, because it gets to be a pain to do stuff like that. Up here will be a subscription link. Down here will be a Patreon link. And if you choose to support my daughter's Olympic hopes, there will be a GoFundMe link down in the description below. Guys, like I said in the other ending when I forgot to do the thing, I love you guys. Take it easy. I'll get this video up sometime today. I will try to get in on a live chat. I'll probably do it as a premiere. So you guys have fun. Enjoy yourselves. Be safe. Enjoy your summer vacation and spend time with your families. And I'll see you guys later.